I've finally done it. I've accomplished my goal of watching every Best Picture nominee leading up to the 2025 Oscars. Um, this has been a long time goal for me for some years now. Now, maybe not specifically this, but some variation of like, I want to be able to actually know a good amount of the nominees and have ones to root for that I can fairly root for, because in previous years, I had maybe watched one or two of certain nominees, especially the Best Picture category, like one or two of them. So it's like I couldn't even root for them. It's like I don't know most of the movies, and I love movies. And this past couple months, especially, I've been going ham on movies. Been loving going through a ton of them, a lot more than I usually would watch. I'm up to like 30 movies watched for the year already, so that's big for me. And a lot of those were the nominees for the Academy Awards leading up to this, because my whole goal was to be able to make a video primarily about the Best Picture nominees. That was my necessary goal, or that was my hard, fast rule. I needed to watch all 10 of the Best Picture nominees at least, and then I would try to fill in the others. So I'm happy to say I've watched all the Best Picture nominees, as well as filled in the blanks on a lot of the different other categories, including the actors and actresses, best actors and actresses categories, as well as a bunch of the other ones as well. There's really only a couple. There's the documentary films I haven't watched any of, and the shorts I haven't watched any of. But other than that, there's only a couple fringe ones, like, say, an Alien Romulus or Gladiator 2, like, couple movies out there that I haven't watched. But I wanted to have the most comprehensive look at all the material for the year, and really now put my hand on the scale as to who I would want to win certain categories. Now, the most annoying thing about the Oscars is that going into it, there's always the talk of like, who are the front runners, and then these people, these actors or these movies are clearly out of the running, even though they're nominees. So they always feel like we're already putting them in tiers before we even see the results. So we can't just like authentically root for anybody in the categories. It's always like narrowed down to two usually in each category going into it. This year's a little more open, but even still, there are definitely a couple where it's like they have no shot. And then if you look at previous awards leading up to this one, it's like, well, it's almost locked that one of these certain ones will win. So, all right, let's get into it. I want to say before starting, my favorite movie of all the 2024 films I watched, which is a large majority of these nominees, and the large majority of any that I had interest in for that year, my favorite movie was Sing Sing. And it wasn't even nominated for Best Picture. I think that's criminal, personally. And it's especially criminal when you look at certain nominees on Best Picture. Now, I'm actually on the official Oscars website to look through because it's, it's so classy. They have the nominees listed out. I'm going to look through different categories, but I'm going to scroll down and start with Best Picture, and then I'll work my way through what other ones I've seen all of them on. I'm not going to say 100% I want this one to win unless I've seen all the nominees in the category. But I'm going to start with the Best Picture nominees, because that's the title of the video. I'm not going to bury the lead and make you go search for it. Here are the 10 nominated for Best Picture: Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. So this is the thing about this list. I can safely say that all of these are good movies, except for one. All these are, at the very least, pretty good movies, except for Emilia Perez. I think Emilia Perez is actually not a very good movie. So it's actually really, really insulting that it has the most nominations of any of them. Leave any of the controversies out of it. Like, I was already like, if the controversy didn't come into it, and then Emilia Perez is coming into this potentially the front runner for a lot of awards, I would be even more pissed. But luckily, we're in the timeline where like somehow this movie is clearly worse than all these was going to be a front runner, and then we lucked into it not being the front runner. But still, crazy that it's here. I barely thought it was as like on Letterboxd. I give it like 2.5 stars. That might be even generous. I'm not sure. Just like it's a musical. The music's not good. There's nothing memorable about the music. And then I just felt like the plot. Ultimately, how it ended up, it was very soap opera-y. Is the vibe I got from it, and I wasn't a big fan. So there's so many movies that I would swap in for that movie alone. Sing Sing obviously is my favorite out of all these, and but even ones that I wasn't as high on, like The Apprentice, Different Man, like those would easily be better and more deserving than this. But and then obviously Real Pain would be more deserving as well. But whatever. All right. So I'll just say that, at the very least, all the other ones are really good. Some are higher than others for me, though. So in terms of the best picture, what would I vote for personally? It would be Anora. I think Anora is my personal favorite movie of this list. Though I will say I also love The Substance and I love Wicked. I love those three. I also think Conclave and The Brutalist are great. Dune Part 2 is great as well. It just didn't resonate with me as much. But I can sit back and appreciate the craft of Dune Part 2, certainly. And I'm glad to see it represented here. I'm Still Here was solid. It just didn't quite rise up as much as like it resonated with other people. It didn't work for me as much as just a film. But I think it's a very important film and really shed some light on things I didn't know much about. And then Nickel Boys and The Complete Unknown I wasn't as high on. I liked them, but they weren't great to me. Nickel Boys is one I might be able to appreciate more on another watch. I'm not sure. There's personally the direction of it didn't work for me as much. But yeah, so I would be happy with any of Anora, The Substance, or Wicked winning. There's buzz about Conclave potentially being a contender, which, I like Conclave quite a bit, but I just don't think it's at the same level as the other ones, but that I named. But yeah, so personally, Anora is what I'm rooting for there. Now let's scroll back up and let's go through. All right. Actor in a leading role, we have Adrien Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes for Conclave, and Sebastian Stan for The Apprentice. All right, let me go through them. Adrien Brody, great performance. Timothée Chalamet, awesome. Coleman Domingo, awesome. Ralph Fiennes, good. It didn't stand out for me as much as it did for others, but I see it's more of an understated role. It's one of those. Sebastian Stan, this is an interesting one in there. It's cool to have him there because he did have two big movies, kind of like how Timothée Chalamet had two big movies this year. But for The Apprentice, while it was fascinating to see him becoming more and more like the Donald Trump we know as the movie went on, I don't think it was really an Oscar-winning performance for me. Not really on the level of the others, personally. Coleman Domingo, for all intents and purposes, is seemingly out of the race. Like, because no one's ever mentioned him when they're talking about it. It's like always between Adrien Brody as a front runner and then maybe Timothée Chalamet as an outside chance. But the other ones, I guess they're just shit out of luck. But Coleman Domingo, personally, I love his performance in Sing Sing. He's quickly becoming one of my favorite actors just to watch in general. I thought it was really beautifully done. That being said, Adrien Brody was fantastic in The Brutalist, and Timothée Chalamet was great in Complete Unknown. I would be happy with any of those three, but if I were to personally pick, I would pick Coleman Domingo. Actor in a supporting role, we have Yura Borisov for Nora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton for A Complete Unknown, Guy Pearce for The Brutalist, and Jeremy Strong for The Apprentice. Of these, it's pretty much a slam dunk for Kieran Culkin. As far as the race is concerned, it's the most definitive one. He's won all the awards leading up to this one, and it seems like a slam dunk that he'll win this. And I personally would vote for Kieran Culkin to win. I think his performance was really nice, really sold that movie. Out of these, I'd say certainly Kieran Culkin. Outside, Guy Pearce was great in The Brutalist. I wouldn't be mad at Guy Pearce winning either. But the other ones, not quite as much. They didn't stand out as much for me. Jeremy Strong was okay, yeah. And then Yura Borosov and Edward Norton were both pretty good, but there's Kieran Culkin and Guy Pearce, the big standouts, so Kieran Culkin would be my vote. Actress in a leading role. This is a fantastic, highly competitive category. We got Cynthia Erivo for Wicked. We got Carla Sofia Gascon for Amelia Perez, Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, and Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. I think these were all fantastic. The only one that's definitely I wouldn't vote for would be Carla Sofia Gascon, and her, all for controversial statements aside. I thought her performance was great, actually. I thought it was a really great performance in an otherwise not great movie, but I don't think it's at the level of the others. Personally, I think my pick would be Mikey Madison. I thought she was fantastic. That was my biggest takeaway from Honora. As much as I loved that movie, the biggest headline thought for me coming out of it was, wow, Mikey Madison killed that. A certain level of vulnerability as well as a charisma that really drove that movie. Awesome. And Demi Moore similarly had an incredible amount of vulnerability in that movie and incredible performance as well. I know the race is considered between those two largely, which is still annoying to me because I think it's crazy how these other actresses are kind of put on the back burner as a result in the conversation. Because Cynthia Erivo, I thought was amazing. And as far as a musical goes, it's hard to get much better than that, but it's just also hard to hang with some of these harder hitting movies. It's hard for that to compete, I think, in any awards voter's mind. I think Cynthia Erivo is brilliant though and is very deserving of the nomination. And Fernanda Torres was brilliant as well. I think those four ladies were excellent, and you couldn't have cast any of their roles any better. That being said, Mikey Madison would be my preferred one, and then I would be very happy for either Cynthia Erivo or Demi Moore winning as well. All deserving. Actress in a supporting role. We have Monica Barbaro for A Complete Unknown, Ariana Grande for Wicked, Felicity Jones for The Brutalist, and Isabella Rossellini for Conclave, and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. Now, this one annoys me, really, because I think Ariana Grande deserves it out of these nominees. And even if she were to win it, it's kind of ironic because of how the categories are split like this between lead actress and then the supporting role actresses. Cynthia Erivo, who's just as deserving as Ariana Grande, has much more competition in the lead actress category than Ariana does in this one, though seeming very likely Zoe Saldana will win this as well. She's been winning a lot and is the one Amelia Perez representation that doesn't seem to be slowing down. To me, I don't know what I was missing. I didn't think her performance was that amazing that it transcended a mediocre movie that much that it would be Oscar award winning, but I seem to be in the minority there. I think for me, easily it would be Ariana Grande of these five. Monica Barbaro and Felicity Jones, they're both great. But Ariana Grande is the one that spoke to me the most and actually had such a huge impact on the movie that I watched. I was really blown away with her performance. And to me, she's the standout of these five. And, Zoe will probably win, but that's how I feel. Animated feature film. This is another one I made sure to watch all the nominees for. So the nominees are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot. Some really good ones in here. For me personally, I would vote for The Wild Robot. I think it's fantastic. But Flow is right there with me. I'm telling you, it's really close in my mind. And I would not be mad at all at Flow winning. But I think The Wild Robot just edges Flow out for me. Though I found Flow to be a very charming story. And no script needed, no words. Inside Out 2, I thought was good, but wasn't as big for me as it was for other people. So while I'm not mad at being nominated at all, I don't think it's award winning. Especially when all the other ones or a couple of the other ones are more original too. Memoir of a Snail is not on the level of Flow and The Wild Robot for me, but really weird and dark, but also powerful at the same time. Like there's so much in there. Really cool stop motion style, kind of like Wallace and Gromit, but even more like unique character design. Like some funky looking characters. It's crazy how it transports you into a completely different, like the tone that it sets just in the visual style alone. Wallace and Gromit, I'm sorry to say, I know a lot of people are enjoying this movie. This is my first Wallace and Gromit, for the disclaimer. First Wallace and Gromit movie I ever watched was for first Wallace and Gromit movie I ever watched was for this, and it was didn't really work for me. It didn't do anything for me that's spectacular. I don't really know what it is other than the visuals, which are great. I love the stop motion style. It wasn't remarkable to me at all. But The Wild Robot and Flow, love those two. Animated short film, I did not watch any of these. The cinematography, I have watched all of these but Maria. That's the one I haven't watched. So I can't really say, though. Dune Part 2 seems like it would probably be a great contender for that. Costume design, I've seen all these but Gladiator 2. For directing, we have Sean Baker for Nora, Brady Corbet for The Brutalist, James Mangold for Complete Unknown, Jacques Audiard for Amelia Perez, and Coralie Forjeux for The Substance. Personally, I would vote for Coralie Forjeux. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced a couple ways. Let me know if I'm wrong. I think the directing, in particular for The Substance, was phenomenal. It was bold, it was fearless, and it was essential for that movie. Amelia Perez, that's laughable. A Complete Unknown, pretty good, not a standout. And then Anora, I love, would not be mad at Sean Baker winning. And The Brutalist was great. The direction was awesome, so I wouldn't be mad at Brady Corbet winning either. But I think Coralie Forjeux deserves it. Documentary feature film. Unfortunately, I haven't seen any of these. I was trying to watch Black Box Diaries, at least. I just didn't get it in time. Same with documentary short film. Film editing. We've got Anora, The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, and Wicked. Amelia Perez, what are you doing here? Oh my god, it's crazy. They just threw it in a bunch of things. It doesn't even make sense. Like, the editing of Amelia Perez, I don't know. I could see Anora. Anora was good. I do think probably The Brutalist or Conclave. I would lean towards maybe Conclave for film editing as one that kind of stands out in my mind more than the others for its editing. Wicked, I don't think that's the category for Wicked. International feature film. The only ones I've seen are I'm Still Here, Amelia Perez, and Flow. I haven't seen The Girl with the Needle and The Seed of the Sacred Fig. But some great ones in there. Not Amelia Perez, that's all I gotta say. Makeup and hairstyling. We've got A Different Man, Amelia Perez, Nosferatu, The Substance, and Wicked. Makeup and hairstyling is an absolute, it has to go to The Substance. Fantastic. That's what makes the movie so, like, horrifyingly good. But big shout out to Nosferatu for also having that very similar vibe of just like, whoa, what am I watching? And so good in that movie. A Different Man also has great makeup and hairstyling. And in a different year, Wicked has great makeup and hairstyling for what it is. It just, I don't think it can compare to some of these other much more elaborate makeup and hairstyling. Amelia Perez, laughable. What are you doing there? Nominees for music, original score: The Brutalist, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. From what I understand, original score is actually more like background music. So, like, technically for Wicked, you wouldn't be including the songs, which is like probably the first thing you think of when you see that. So it's tough. I mean, there's still some great like musical, like some magical sounding score for that movie. But my instinct was to say Wicked. But then if that's not the case, if it's not like the songs aren't part of that, because that's kind of obviously that's what seems unfair looking at it on the surface. Is like, well, Amelia Perez sucks, and then the other ones don't have actual songs; they're just background music. But I think that is what the score is. It's all the background music. Because the score also, if you were including the songs for Wicked, they're not entirely original either, since they're adapted. But so with that being said, I would vote for Conclave because I thought the music was awesome in that movie, and it really, really helped elevate that film. Original song, I did not listen to all these. I kind of meant to do that beforehand. But just to shout out how insulting it is, there's 2 Amelia Perez songs in here. Can't remember a single song from Amelia Perez except for the penis or vagina song. And crazy. This is a weak ass category. Could they not have included the song from The Wild Robot? That seems like a slam dunk to not only be nominated but to win. But to be fair, I haven't heard Never Too Late or The Journey, so who knows. Production design, we have The Brutalist, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Nosferatu, and Wicked. Gotta say, Dune Part 2, awesome production, for sure. That's like the technical aspects of that movie are what really make it stand out to me. But Wicked, all the way, and production design is incredible. And so much of that actually practical, like all the freaking flowers they planted and the train they built and shit like that. I mean, out of this world. Production, for sure, for Wicked. No live action short films. I didn't watch any of these. Sound, A Complete Unknown, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and The Wild Robot. Now, sound for Wicked, again, it's a weird category that people would probably be thinking of the music, but I don't know. It's not super passionate about this one, but probably would go something like Dune Part 2. Visual effects, I haven't seen Alien Romulus or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but I have to imagine Dune Part 2 being a front runner there. Writing, adapted screenplay. All right, we have A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Amelia Perez, Nickel Boys, and Sing Sing. Sing Sing all the way, man. But for a runner-up, Conclave, certainly great script. Like, the writing is what's so good in that movie. That really drives it. Those two, but particularly Sing Sing. At least give us one award to walk away with. I don't know. And then lastly, writing, original screenplay. We got Anora, The Brutalist, A Real Pain, September 5, and The Substance. Okay, I haven't watched September 5 yet, so I can't really definitively say. But likely Anora. But there it is. There's my thoughts on all the 2025 Oscar nominees that I know of. The Best Picture and a ton of the other categories as well. So, big takeaways are I love Sing Sing, Anora, Wicked, The Substance in particular, The Wild Robot, and Flow for animated movies. Awesome. I think Look Back is another animated movie that probably should have been nominated over something like Wallace and Gromit for me personally. I think Amelia Perez shouldn't have been nominated for literally anything, personally. Like, give Zoe Saldana a nomination for Amelia Perez, but wouldn't have her winning, and that would be it for Amelia Perez for me, like crazy. A Real Pain should have been probably nominated for Best Picture instead. But yeah, this is the first year I'll be watching the Oscars where I know every nominee for Best Picture and most of the nominees for everything else. So I'm excited to actually have stakes involved and be able to say, oh yeah, they deserved it or they didn't deserve it, or just seeing kudos given to these awesome movies. I think so many of them are worth watching. I think there's a lot of great movies nominated this year, but some glaring flaws in some of the nominations as well. But yeah, just to recap some of the big ones, if I were to pick my pick for who I would love and most ideally would like to see win, even if they're not likely. For Best Picture, Nora. Best Directing, The Substance. Best Actor, Lead Actor, Coleman Domingo. Best Supporting Actor, Kieran Culkin. Best Lead Actress, Mikey Madison. And Best Supporting Actress, Ariana Grande. So that's actually a nice little cross-section of different movies just in those nominations alone. I like that. I would love that, personally. That would be my dream. But I know a lot of them are not likely to win, so we'll see. And I think I'll do a video after the Oscars as well, just giving my reactions to who won. Do I think there was any absolute snubs, or could I at least see reasonably that they deserve to win or whatever? I'm looking forward to it, but yeah, let me know in the comments below which movies would you pick for these categories if you've seen them. Curious to know your thoughts. Who are you rooting for here? What are you rooting for here? And yeah, I'll be watching. I don't know if I'll be able to watch live or not, but I really want to so I don't get it spoiled. We'll see. All right. Until next time, subscribe to the channel for more videos on movies, television, and reality TV here on the channel. All right.